Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Film Club Podcast, where every month we deep dive into a different aspect of cinema, directors, genres, actors, or franchises. It doesn't matter, because it's always fun at the Film Club. I'm Dean.
I'm Becky.
And this month we are going through Star Wars, but with a twist. We are defending your Star Wars, and for that we have a guest on.
We do. A first-time guest, technically, because he did make a cameo a few episodes back.
Why don't you introduce yourself over there, Mr. Producer Man?
Hi, my name is Rene Bravo. I am from here at Undercity Comics. I also have my own podcast, Keeping Up with the Nerds.
So professional.
I'm so used to being it more kind of like straight mainstreaming. That's why, like mainstreaming sounding. I think. Yeah.
Ooh, fancy. But the Star Wars that we brought you in to defend today.
Yes.
What is it?
It is from the new trilogy, The Force Awakens.
Dun dun dun. The Force Awakens comes out 2015. This is the first of the Disney Star Wars, right?
Yeah.
And it's directed by J.J. Abrams. And correct me if I'm wrong, but on release, people dug The Force Awakens.
I remember the trailer when the first trailer dropped, and this was like the moment, the make it or break it moment. When that trailer dropped, everyone was like, this is it. We'll get to see what Disney has in store for Star Wars. And it was actually pretty good. I remember the hype. Everyone loved it. The music was still the same and stuff. The vibe was still there. You could tell. And you could tell that we're moving forward in the story in a bit, you know.
You also have that great moment in the trailer with Han Solo. The Force, it's real.
It's real, yeah.
And then you start screaming, "Oh my god!"
I know, wasn't it in the trailer where Han comes in, he's like, "It's good to be back," and then boom.
Yeah, it was so good. I remember every time we see it in theaters, the trailer would always come up, and I was just like, everyone would always be super excited.
Well, and that's the thing. The hype for Force Awakens was insane because it was the first Star Wars in like over a decade.
Yeah.
But thing is, comes out, everyone, I think the biggest critique when that movie comes out is, oh, it's safe, it's, kind of New Hope, but, I had a good time with it.
Yeah.
But opinions soured on that movie the longer the series went on. I think now people actually have like issues with The Force Awakens because it made a lot of promises that the rest of the franchise didn't keep.
Which I think is unfair, because The Force Awakens is a really good movie, and it's not its fault that the other two movies were kind of trash.
So good.
Yeah.
It was, after I don't want to get too much into the sequels, because that's another podcast that you guys are doing.
We can get into it a little bit.
It was just, just to kind of tackle that. You could tell, though, it was the beginning of Disney not taking criticism well.
Yeah.
That's a thing. Any sort of criticism moving forward after Force Awakens, they just was like, okay, we need to double down. We need to, listen to the fans. And it's like, sometimes you can listen to us, but sometimes you don't have to.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
It's a very back and forth kind of thing. It's complicated, but again, I mean, Force Awakens, again, like you said, it had a lot of promises. It was hinting at certain things, showing us certain ways of how characters were going to go about. And you can tell, though, especially characters like Finn. Finn felt like he was going to be a much more main character moving forward in the franchise. It seemed like Kylo Ren was going to have a own little journey on his own, rather than, what they chose for him moving forward. Because I remember when Kylo Ren, like, that just character, when they revealed the character of Kylo Ren, toy sales were crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Anything with him on it.
He was the new Darth Vader.
Yeah.
People wanted more Star Wars, and they were like, finally, we have the heir apparent to Darth Vader, Rey, the heir apparent to Luke Skywalker, Poe, the heir apparent to Han Solo. Finn was, I guess, the heir apparent to Leia, but whatever, we'll get to that. Weird. John Boyega, Princess Leia, just perfect.
Right.
Like, mistake him in a crowd.
We have a BB-8. Another droid that just hits us in the feels.
Yes, yeah.
It is just so interesting, the shift that The Force Awakens had in pop culture, in the nerd culture, because like I think because we did a Star Wars episode many moons ago, and approaching that episode, I will be honest, talking about the original trilogy is fucking impossible, because you can't add anything to that conversation other than, I loved it as a kid, and it's culturally just destroyed cinema. Like, let's be real here. And it's like, with the Star Wars, the Disney Star Wars movies, I feel like they have either fallen onto they're the worst things to happen to modern cinema, right behind Marvel, or take a chill pill, guys. They're just movies. Like, no, I don't see a lot of people still defending the Disney Star Wars movies.
Yeah.
No, I mean, we'll see when another, batch of them comes out, because we were the same with the prequels. The prequels, we absolutely dragged them. Oh my God, this was terrible. This is horrible. And we got Force Awakens, like, finally, we're doing Star Wars again. And then we went back down the hill. So maybe in another 10 years from now, when they make new stuff and be like, you know what? Maybe I was a little too hard on The Last Jedi or Rise of Skywalker. There's just something there.
I like how Rene just popped his head up. You're like, are you really going to think we're defending Rise of Skywalker in 10 years?
I was like, oh,
You're like, you put my ass in the ground before I defend that movie.
Oh my God, yeah.
But, like, talking about, like, the hype on Force Awakens, like, let's really get a good sense of the hype surrounding it, and then we'll get into the movie.
Rolling back 2015?
Yeah.
Rolling back 2015, right? I want to know, Rene, 2015, trailer drops. Yeah. It's coming in. December's coming in. Star Wars is approaching.
Yeah, it dropped the celebration, right?
I think
when they were doing the celebration
in Anaheim.
In Anaheim, that's right. Yeah,
we were down the street at school in Fullerton, dying. We were sitting there watching the panels live, like, oh my God, I could be down the street watching this in person.
But the Force Awakens is approaching. You're gonna go and you're gonna buy your ticket and see the Force Awakens. What is the level of hype you have for this movie? Because in context for people who wasn't there, because I guess this movie did come out like 9 years ago, so people not remember. Yeah, like we had not had a good Star Wars in like 40 years, and the last Star Wars we had was Revenge of the Sith in like 2002, 3.
And then I remember way before these movies came out, everyone was ripping on the prequels.
Yeah.
The prequels were the worst movies before the Disney Star Wars movies.
We wanted to be saved.
Yes,
there was a literal song called "George Lucas Raped My Childhood." That was a real song that was designed around the prequels.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh man. Yeah. But I just remember when they announced, like, oh yeah, the trailer's gonna drop during the celebration of Star Wars. That's when, like, we were just waiting for something. Like Star Wars fans were like, I need something. I need a little days. Give me the days.
Come on.
Yeah. And I just remember that day. Like I think I was here, and then there was the same day too. They I don't know why they did this. They put out the trailer, and that same day they announced tickets were on sale.
Yeah.
I remember Fandango was crashing that day. Couldn't get tickets right away for like the next 5 hours, and everyone was freaking out on Twitter, Instagram, and stuff like that.
I think there were some theaters who were legit like first come first serve. We're not selling tickets online. Like if you buy them online, we will not redeem them.
That's the thing. Yeah, and I remember hearing about that too. I think at the time I wasn't going to AMC. I was going to Regal.
Oh, you're a Regal man.
At the time, I was a Regal fan. Oh, that's the thing.
We saw it at Regal too.
Yeah, and then I remember Regal was working pretty good. I think I messaged all my friends. I go, okay, guys, I was able to get some tickets. Who's going? Who wants to go? Who's showing up? I think I had to buy like 8 tickets, which was pretty expensive, but luckily everyone paid me back. But yeah, so I remember just getting the tickets and just being relieved. I was like, okay, get a chance. Because that's the biggest thing too. When you have a movie that's as big as Star Wars or was as big as Avengers, and stuff like that.
That everyone is already speculating like this is going to be the highest grossing movie of all time.
Yes.
Everyone's going to see this movie like 15 times.
That's
and you do not want to be the last guy in your friend group to see it.
Yeah, it's the thing. You don't even want to see it the second day. That's the thing. The day to see it is opening day for something like this. And I think they just barely doing like, oh, you can watch it a day ahead. You can watch movies the day before the initial release. So you can see it like Thursday night opposed to seeing it Friday.
It'd be like Thursday at 7 p.m.
Yeah, basically
right?
That's it.
That's what we did because it ended up landing on my birthday.
Oh wow!
So my brother went and he slept at the theater. He was the first one in line. They felt bad for him. They gave him a free T-shirt and a free cup.
The best part is he wasn't even the first in line. There was one guy ahead of him, and I'm like, what bonding did those two men go through?
Right?
No, he gave up.
Did the guy in front of him leave?
Really?
He left. I remember he texted me. He's like, he gave up. I'm the first in line.
The guy,
I'm number one.
because I think I remember he shows, because it premieres on like the 17th, right?
Yeah.
So he shows up either like the 15th at like the 15th night or the 16th morning.
The 16th. He stayed there all day. The guy gave up. And he was the first one. He slept there all night. Wakes up. He texts me at about 8 o'clock in the morning. He goes, I could have gotten here at 6 o'clock in the morning. People didn't show up until about 7. And I was just like, dude.
Because I think he thought it was going to be the same thing as when the prequels dropped.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And
No, that's a safe assumption. You know, again, it's we haven't had Star Wars in a while. You know,
haven't had a good one in again like 40 years, guys.
Yeah.
Another big thing when this came out was we got a big toy drop.
That's right. Oh my God! Anything that came out with the toys, I remember they would just sell out.
Because I think it was it May the 4th when they did the toy drop?
Yeah.
I was there at Target at like 7 o'clock in the morning, just running and going nuts.
Yeah. People are trying to get any sort of Kylo Ren or Finn. I think the one that didn't sell was the top 2 toys that we had that were the first to move was Captain Phasma, Kylo Ren, and Finn. Rey didn't sell a lot because she didn't have any cool accessories. She just had her staff, and that was it.
Also, Captain Phasma, the biggest, like, we are only here for the toy character in the
basically
entire franchise.
Another Boba Fett.
Another Boba Fett. My God.
I love you, Boba.
I just remember, because my experience going into this was Star Wars is being announced, and I'm like, okay, and I didn't go online for 3 months. I didn't.
Oh, that's right.
Because they were dropping clips, trailers,
spoilers, whatever.
Interviews,
and I was like, okay. I watched the trailer, and then I was like, "Good day, internet." I didn't go.
I wish I could do that.
I didn't go on YouTube for 3 months. I didn't do any social. I already didn't do a social media anyway, but I really like avoided it like the plague. Yeah. Anytime somebody would bring up Star Wars or something, I would leave the room because I didn't want anything to ruin my Star Wars, right?
You don't even want to hear anyone's theories. That's the thing at this point.
Exactly. I didn't want this.
Yeah.
And we were fresh to dating at this point. So it was kind of like he was seeing how crazy I was because I love Star Wars. Yeah. So he was just like, who are you? And then him with, I will walk out of this building and come back in an hour after you guys have done, speaking. And I'm like, we're two crazy people. What is going on?
That just solidified your relationship more. Like, I'm crazy, you're crazy.
I was very serious about my crazy. This is why I'm a Star Trek guy, all right? Like, it's way easier to get by with this.
Yeah.
But anytime anything happened related to the Star Wars thing, social media and everything blew up, and it was like the new central topic of conversation around every water cooler across America. Again, people might be like, well, whatever, it's just a movie. No, fucking The Force Awakens the hype was huge. Yeah. Absolutely huge. But we finally get into the theater. We're sitting down, got the popcorn. I tell Susie, if you ruin this for me, I'll fucking kill you. And then it starts.
And 45 minutes before that, the movie was spoiled for me because someone on the East Coast uploaded a certain clip onto Instagram, and I was just like, it's got to be fake. I didn't see that.
Was it the big spoiler clip? Oh, no.
My brother got spoiled on Twitch, and all he said was, somebody dies in it. And I was like, wait, what? And then so the whole start of the movie, I'm like, who's going to die? Oh, my God, who is it? And then a certain character shows up, and everyone pops for him, and I'm like, oh, no. No. Come on.
I remember, so I didn't get anything spoiled, but someone did upload the final battle clip between Kylo and Finn. The lightsaber battle. Which was cool. I mean, like, I was really afraid because at the time I didn't care for prequel lightsaber fighting because it's all twirling and stuff like that.
Very influenced by like Hong Kong action movies, wushu.
It's very showy. It's twirling, and I didn't really like it at the time. So when I saw at least a snippet of how Kylo fights and Finn fights, I was really excited because it was very much like sword fighting, know. So I liked that a lot. And I think someone was trying to say spoilers because at the time I was it was a girl that's now my ex, my girlfriend at the time.
Because you spoiled Star Wars for you.
No. We were hungry, so we went to Wendy's, because there's a Wendy's by that Regal over there on Imperial Highway.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we went to
Is
Wendy's.
that the one in La Habra?
Yeah.
That's where we saw us.
Oh, really? Oh, maybe I did see you
We
guys.
were probably in the same line.
Right? Yeah, we were probably in the same theater and stuff.
I don't know if it was the same theater, because I remember every theater was Star Wars that night.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Every theater was Star
Did
Wars
you go to
that night.
the 7 o'clock showing?
I think so, because we went to the big premiere theater.
Oh,
went to that
yeah,
one.
then we were in the
Yeah.
same
Okay,
theater as
yeah.
you.
Okay,
Oh,
cool.
so we saw a movie with you,
Sweet.
Rene.
Hey, awesome.
Oh, it took like 9 years to figure that out.
Right?
but okay.
And so we went to Wendy's, and then just, high school kids, they're little shits. And they saw me and my girlfriend at the time, we were wearing Kylo Ren shirts, matching Kylo Ren shirts. And then they saw, they're like, oh yeah, did you hear that, was it Kylo Ren's Jar Jar Binks? So I'm just like, what an idiot. I'm like, okay, whatever. And
You're sitting there, oh my God, I hope he's not Jar Jar.
No, I mean, I wasn't taking it seriously, because again, it was like a 16, 15-year-old kid, like anything he says, I'm just like, nah, bullshit. Like, and I just remember going in the theater, and then my friend did the Fanboys thing, where at the end of Fanboys,
What if it sucks?
yes, that's
I've
exactly
seen
what
that
he
movie.
said. Yeah.
I got that movie. Oh.
So it's so funny, because like right before the movie starts, the trailers are going through. He goes, Rene, I'm like, what? He goes, what if it sucks? I'm like, you bastard. I'm like, and then
My brother did the exact same thing when we went, but it wasn't when we went to go see Star Wars. And when we went to go see Mad Max Fury Road, because we fucking bonded over Mad Max, and then Fury Road's gonna start, and he's like, what if it sucks? I'm like, it can't suck. And then like the first 10 minutes, it's like, are they milking that woman like that?
Mother's milk.
Oh God, no. And then we got the rest of Mad Max Fury Road.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah.
How many times did you go see Mad Max?
Ooh.
In theaters?
In theaters.
Oh,
I
because
think I saw that 3 times.
I think so, because I went to go see it with you. I went to go see it with Randy, and I think I went to go see it with Randy first, because I think you couldn't go for the first day.
Yeah.
And then like literally the next day we went to go see it, and I think I saw it like a third time on my own.
Yeah, I saw it 3 times. I think I saw it with my buddies, and then I saw it with my girlfriend, and then I saw it by myself. Me too, because I was like, you know what, I'm bored. I want to see it again. Like,
Kinda
No
slaps.
distractions,
Yeah,
no people.
Right? Yes. And oh man, are you guys gonna go see Furiosa?
Of course I am.
Yeah.
I know,
I've seen
same
all
here.
of them.
Yes.
That's true.
That's a perfect franchise.
Mhm.
Even Thunderdome, and Thunderdome's fucking weird, but that
No,
Master
yeah.
Blaster, man, that's just
Yeah,
fire.
yeah. They got the classic like, welcome to the Thunderdome, bitch.
Oh, but okay, yeah.
Hey, Star Wars.
Wars.
Yeah.
So Star Wars starts,
Mhm.
and I'll give the basic back of the box for this one, and then we'll go into a little bit
Yeah.
more like play by play.
Yeah.
Because once we get into play by play, it's A New Hope, but we'll get into that.
Yeah.
But the back of the box for Star Wars: The Force Awakens is the First Order, who is basically the Empire, and the Galactic Rebellion, who are still the Rebellion, are on the hunt for Luke Skywalker. One is on the hunt to execute him, and the other to lead them. But when a droid with Luke's whereabouts falls into the hands of a Force-sensitive scavenger, a fast-talking rebel pilot, and a deserting stormtrooper, the fate of the galaxy now rests in their hands. Dun dun dun. That was literally like the back of the Blu-ray that I
Yeah.
found.
Oh really?
That was literally the back of the Blu-ray I found.
You got it.
And then it went on for another like 5 paragraphs on the special
Yeah.
features.
That's basically a sum up of the title crawl. Like
Basically.
because I was reading it when I was rewatching it today. And
Yep. Actually, wait, I should just call this the title crawl.
Right.
That was the title crawl.
That was the title crawl. Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. It was so the way the movie opens. It's there's a plans or not plans. There's a map they need to find to help save them and stuff like that.
The MacGuffin,
Yeah.
right? It's like in original Star Wars. So it's like,
Yeah.
oh, these are the plans for the Death Star, and it's a MacGuffin, right? It's just a way to get the plot moving forward.
Mhm.
But I like how this movie opens because we get to see Max von Sydow, the priest from The Exorcist,
Yeah.
Seventh Seal, and I'm like,
Uh-huh.
oh my god, I know that guy.
Yep.
This is an art film now.
Mm-hmm.
And then
It's
lasers.
Kino.
It's
Right.
Kino with lasers. And this is the first time we get to see Poe, and Poe eventually takes, or I think Poe, we all kind of fall into, he's going to be our Han Solo
Yeah,
surrogate.
he's got that suaviness, Oscar Isaac. Yeah.
Oscar Isaac being suave?
Yeah.
No. No.
Great set of hair.
Right?
Great
It's the hair. It's
Yeah.
the hair. Yeah.
And he gives the plans, or he gives the map to BB-8, which is our new droid,
R2.
R2.
Which not bad. BB-8 shows himself to be a very cool droid. You know, not better than R2-D2,
No.
obviously.
Okay. All right.
Never.
Hold on.
Calm down.
I'm just saying.
I'm gonna let you cook now.
yeah.
Like, you gotta be ready.
You brought
here.
me here to defend it. Like, but no, BB-8 showed to be funny. That's what I think. I enjoyed BB-8. His mannerisms were really great. You know.
That's something that comes off pretty early in this, is that there's a sense of humor to the film.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even when Kylo Ren shows up and they
Yeah.
start raiding,
Mhm.
and Poe's like, wait, Poe starts making some like quippy comments to
Yeah.
Kylo Ren, and Kylo Ren's just not having it.
He just sits there and goes, "Do I talk or you talk?" He's all like, or do he goes, "It's kind of hard to hear you with the apparatus." I'm like, okay, all right.
He's like, take him away.
Yeah.
But it's cool because, there's a little bit more sense of humor, because the prequels are kind of devoid of a sense of humor, or the comedy is, Jar Jar Binks very like throwing it out to the rafters, lowest form of comedy kind of thing.
Yeah.
And the original trilogy it takes itself rather seriously.
Yeah.
Like, the comedy in that is just like, guys, we're space wizards. Like, just get on board the ride. Like, that's,
That's basically what it is, yeah.
But we do get to see Kylo Ren for the first time doing some badass shit.
Yep.
Just stopping lasers.
Yeah, and still holding it as he's talking.
Which is just so fucking... It's a cool visual.
Yes.
But, now that we see Poe and Kylo Ren, their first scene together, this is also where we get to see Finn for the first time as a stormtrooper. He doesn't want to shoot on innocent civilians. And I'm like, man, this starts off really fucking dark.
Yeah.
They're like,
really
execute
does.
the villagers. And he's like, well, wait, for like real?
Yeah,
I'm a
that's the thing,
stormtrooper.
yeah.
I can't hit anything. But, we get to see our first batch of characters
And
here.
Yeah.
Captain Phasma shows up.
Yes.
Captain Phasma shows up. It's the one of 3 times in the entire movie she's on screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She had such high toy sales. She's on screen for
yeah.
maybe 5 minutes.
Yeah. Don't get to see her again until the end of the second act, I guess?
I think, yeah.
Or beginning of the third? Is it the
I
beginning?
think it's the beginning of the third act
Yeah.
when they get into the base.
We get to we get to see more of her. I mean, there's other scenes where she pops up because explaining to, I guess, Kylo about Finn going against the Order and stuff like that. And then that's it. We never see her again.
Yeah. But, the opening sequence here.
Yeah.
Right? What are our thoughts? Are we like, boys, Star Wars is back? Are we like, nah, this ain't it, Chief? What are our thoughts? Like, the opening sequence, we get to see, a slaughter of a village. We get to see Kylo Ren doing some badass shit. Poe's throwing quips, and we get to see Finn having doubts about being a stormtrooper.
And we have a droid.
Yes. It's very interesting because you're seeing for the first time a stormtrooper or a first order trooper, kind of like going against what they believes in, what they've been told and stuff like that. So it's interesting already. The movie's already grabbing you by that alone. You're kind of like, ooh, okay, well, where do we go from there?
It's like we've never had a defecting trooper.
And then, you have Kylo Ren just establish himself as this, walking threat, holding a blaster shot. And then just when he walks away, he just lets it go and hits the antenna and stuff like that.
And has no care on what it hits. It's just, I'm done with this now.
Basically, yeah.
It also, we get to see his lightsaber for the first time here. The red one with the extra bits blowing out. And it's like, okay, that's really cool. Because it looks like a big old, claymore broadsword or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I'm vibing with this.
Kylo's a spicy boy.
Yeah,
spicy boy.
yeah.
We will see the abs of Kylo in the sequels.
Yeah.
But I'm like, okay, this is neat.
So I was doing research before the movie came out. So many people were critiquing a lot of things, and Kylo's lightsaber was one of them.
I thought that was the dumbest
right?
shit.
Yeah.
When people were like, his fucking lightsaber's stupid.
Yeah.
I'm like, they're space wizards.
Yeah. So I did research on his lightsaber. So basically, they were saying that his lightsaber shows how he is with the Force. It's very unbalanced. It's overwhelming, angry and stuff. And even his kyber crystal is cracked that he's using, which is why he has those two little things. They're venting out that, because the kyber crystal in the lightsaber is unstable.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so it's like, okay, so his mental health, almost like in a way, yeah, you know.
Kylo Ren got some problems.
Yeah,
Yes.
We're gonna get into when he has his like tantrums, but he got some problems.
Yeah, he's got some problems. He's got some daddy issues.
I mean, I was able to relate when he's having the full-on tantrum, just destroying the screen. I've been there,
which again,
so many times.
I mean, it makes sense. That's the thing. He's not. It's showing that character. You know, he's not perfect.
No.
He doesn't have a grasp on the dark side.
Mm.
He's coming from a family that's known for being part of the light side and stuff, and he's going against his family.
He's an emo boy.
He's an emo boy. Yeah,
it's interesting because
it's not just a phase, Mom.
It's not. God, Mom.
The dark side's not a
Grandpa
phase.
was a goth.
right?
I could be a goth too.
I just find it so interesting when he's like talking to the, I guess not the head, but the helmet of Darth Vader,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh, I see. He has a thing where he's trying to live up to an ideal that he set for himself. He's like, well, Vader, he brought balance to the blah blah blah, and the dark side, and he harnessed true power, and I'm trying to live up to that. I always wanted this to happen in the movies, and it never did. But in my head, I'm like, this would have been the coolest shit ever, right? You have Kylo Ren. And Snoke's like, show them the power of the Force, and he tries to like crush a planet with the Force, and he's like, and he gives up, he can't do it, and then Snoke just comes up and is like, Vader could have done it, and just walked away. And then
Right.
Kylo was like, and then he uses the power of the Force and destroys the
drops
planet.
that little seed right there.
Drop the seed like that, because that's basically what I feel like Kylo
so-
Ren's issue
Wow,
is.
your grandpa wasn't a bitch like you.
Right.
Like that feels like Kylo's thing. He's trying to live up to Darth Vader, which in the meta of like the world we're living in is Kylo Ren was designed to be the heir to Darth Vader as like an IP, right?
Yeah.
Oh, new Star Wars, new Vader.
And we needed Luke to be like, dude, in the end, my dad came back to the light side.
He was cool.
I just didn't tell you about it.
But yeah, so we get to see Kylo Ren. Kylo Ren, great introduction.
Yeah.
Super strong. Poe, he gets a good, funny bit.
Yeah.
And Finn, okay, interesting. He's probably going to be what we feel is the audience surrogate. He's going to be the lead, right?
Yeah.
And then BB-8, leaves, and then we get to meet Rey.
Yeah.
And Rey is the obvious Luke parable, or the Luke parallel. And she is a scavenger on Jakku, desert planet. It's not Tatooine, it's basically Tatooine. And
Only one son.
only one son.
Yep.
Whatever in Rey throughout the movie, I have issue with Rey's character and just her arc, but I'm curious your guys' thoughts when we get to see Jakku in the day, Rey, our introduction to her.
It's
Or your thoughts on Rey, right?
Yeah.
It's a new hope.
It's a new hope, yeah.
It's basically New Hope. I was really interested to see where they're going to go with her upon watching Force Awakens. I was kind of hoping that she was going to had no lineage to any legacy characters at all. I'd much rather like the idea of her just being a random character that just falls into this world and stuff like that.
I think that would have been a better direction to go with her character. I think my issue with her in this movie specifically is from the beginning to the end, she is a complete hero.
Yeah.
She there's no point where she is incapable of anything or she is the dog in the fight, right?
Yeah.
From the first time we see her, she gets to beat up the two like desert scavengers like on her own as Finn's running up to try and help her, and he's like, "Oh, well, I guess you got this, honey. All right, cool." Then she's like an expert engineer that's able to work on the Millennium Falcon and figures all that stuff.
Well, I mean, when you're on Jakku for however many years, what else are you gonna do? Well, let me learn how to take this apart and put it back together. Sounds like somebody that I know.
I know. Well, here's the thing. Like, I'm a crazy person, but it's a thing where at no point in the movie she's the dog in the fight. When she fights Kylo for the first time, it's like, oh, well, she's also surrounded by stormtroopers, and then she doesn't know the power of the Force. All right, cool. And then at the end, she's able to like body Kylo Ren after Finn has a go with her. So it's a thing where like for her character arc, she's like the same at the beginning and as at the end. Whereas with Luke in A New Hope, he's the farm boy that he begins wanting to join the Empire, and then at the end of it, he's literally flying to destroy the Death Star.
Luke
and
also looks into his hilt too. Old Ben, here you go. This was your father's weapon. Cool. Let me look right directly into it.
I love that little
He's like,
that
damn
thing.
it, Luke, just like your dad.
That's the other anything,
Right.
Luke's kind of dumb. You
Yeah.
know, he's like very inexperienced, whereas it feels like Rey is like, no, I'm good. Like her only thing is like, oh, I want to be back on Jakku in case my family comes back, and it takes Han Solo a 5-minute conversation to be like, nah, honey, you don't need to do that.
Yeah,
They're
you don't
never
need to
coming
go back.
back.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, I guess I will change my life goals for you,
Right.
dreamy Harrison Ford, who's
Right.
probably in your late 70s.
I mean, I'd listen to him.
Yes, late 70s Harrison Ford. Oh,
I'd
boy.
still listen to him.
Right.
But again, like that's neither here nor there because she's a good action hero protagonist.
Yeah.
You know, she's able to beat up people. She moves the plot along. Daisy Ridley is the actress' name. She does a good job of what she's getting.
Yeah.
Like she's not a bad actor in this.
No, and that's where I think we can mention like Kathleen Kennedy at this point. You know, very much being right, being much an advocate for having a female lead for the new Star Wars franchise. Was
that a thing?
Yeah, she wanted. When she became a main producer for the new Star Wars movies moving forward, she was very much adamant about having a female lead moving forward.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm totally cool with that.
No, that's
like
the thing too.
Ellen Ripley's one of the best protagonists in action cinema. Like we can be real here.
I think what it was is just that she was just worried. She just wanted a female lead, didn't care how the character was going to be written. I think that's what she was mostly just focusing on. Like, no, we got to push Rey, do whatever you can. I don't care how you write it, just do it. And I don't know.
I mean, like that's just an interesting note for the production of it.
Yeah.
Because like, you know, I'm not gonna come on here and be like, my God, Rey having a vagina is the crime against humanity.
No, that's the thing.
I don't really care. It's a more thing where it's like, again, like how it's written is a thing where it's like, it's not bad, but she doesn't have an arc. She has a journey where she's the same at the beginning at the end. Finn has more of an arc.
Yeah, Finn does. Yeah.
You know, Finn is like, I'm a deserter. I'm running away. The only reason I'm trying to get to the rebellion is to get me as far away from the First Order as possible.
Yeah.
He's portrayed as maybe not a coward, but afraid.
But he's afraid because he knows what the First Order is capable of, and he knows that if he's captured, that's it for him and stuff.
And by the end of the movie, he's like, "Okay, Kylo, 1v1 me right now,
right?
dog.
Yeah,
no items, Final Destination,
right.
5-stock me. How dare you?"
And then Rey's like, hold my beer. I'm going to take this bitch out.
Yeah.
And then it destroys a planet.
Exactly. And then, like, I mean, Poe doesn't have an arc, but Poe's not in the movie a lot.
No.
Because I think that was probably a conscious decision of we can't have Poe and Han Solo in the same place because no one will relate to Poe when Han's there and he's supposed to take that
Did they ever interact? Poe and Han?
I don't think so.
Don't think
they were in the same room, but they never talked.
They never talked to each other. It's the scene where like 15 people are talking as they're planning to like take down the thing, right?
Yeah.
But I think that's a conscious choice by, you know, the committee that made this movie, you know, the cabal at Disney, was like, we can't have Poe and Han interact because everyone's going to be like, you're not Han.
It's going to be the two of them. I'm Han. No, I'm Han.
I'm Han. But we get to see Rey and BB-8 connects with Rey, Finn, and Poe. Well, Finn needs a pilot.
Yes.
Poe needs somebody to get him the fuck out of there. So then they have their grand escape.
Their buddy comedy.
Comedy.
Basically, yeah.
And they crash land on Jakku to find Finn wakes up. Poe's gone. No idea where he is. And now he's just wandering off into the desert.
Yeah.
Eventually, he connects with Rey.
With Poe's jacket.
With Poe's jacket.
Right.
And
That's
then
important.
it is important. It comes up later. And then they all get together. And then there's this thing where they... the First Order now knows that where BB-8 is.
Yeah.
And they're coming in, they're attacking Jakku, and Finn and Rey and BB-8 are like, we got to get the fuck off this planet. You're a pilot. I'm a rebellion fighter. I swear, honey. And they run off and they jump on a giant pile of garbage. Just this awful ship that no one in the audience recognized at first glance.
I totally didn't scream when I saw it.
Oh, yeah. You know, I'm curious, the audience reaction for the first time they get to see the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah.
What did it pop off like
No,
you know,
so-
like WrestleMania?
It was the way that how Rey said it in the lines before we got to see it. She goes like, "What about that?" When Finn goes, "What about that ship?" She goes, "That's a pile of garbage." and then they look at the ship they were gonna go on, it explodes, and then she goes, "The garbage will have to do," and it pans to the Millennium Falcon. Everyone was just laughing. That's a big because we know it's the Millennium Falcon and stuff.
We're just waiting for the reveal, right?
Yeah. It was just everyone was just having a good time with that little line, and it was just the deliverance was perfect too. So I laughed as well too. Yeah.
But they get on the Millennium Falcon, they fly off, and then eventually this is where we get them trying to fix the Millennium Falcon, but somebody's knocking at the door, and who walks in but the Undertaker? Sorry. No, it's sorry. It's Mick Foley with a steel chair.
Right.
Wait, no, it's Han Solo and Chewbacca. And we get to see Harrison Ford actually trying in a movie for the first time in a decade at this point.
I know, yeah, it's been a while.
It's been so long. It's been so long. But we get to see Han Solo, Chewbacca. This is the moment everyone in our theater blew up, and
we were all in the same theater.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
This is the moment everyone in the theater blew the fuck up, right?
Yeah.
You know, and yeah, I'm excited to see Han Solo and Harrison Ford again.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see Peter Mayhew in the giant bear costume. But it's also like...
Hey, you joke now. We went to Disneyland. We saw Chewbacca. You gave him a big hug. I have a picture of that on my phone.
Yeah, I did. Fuck you. You know?
You're like, Chewie, I love you so much. Don't let me go. He's like, security.
So rude. But this comes in, and this gets into one of the critiques that people have on The Force Awakens, is that it relies heavily on nostalgia, right? Like, it's a thing where they really wanted to establish, like, oh, this is a sequel to your old Star Wars that you remember, and it's like Han and Luke and Leia are all back.
I mean, Rey lives in a destroyed AT-AT.
Yeah.
She's got, one of the Rebel pilot helmets.
That's the one thing I like about this movie is that it shows stuff from the previous trilogy. Not the
prequels.
Not the prequels, but the
original
trilogy.
For these movies are so fucking awful.
But the original trilogy, all the stuff you would see in the original trilogy, and you see it now, it's all relics at this point. And I really like that vibe. I really like how she holds a TIE fighter helmet, and it's just old. It's just so weathered and stuff like that. Even the AT-AT has, it's all just broken down and stuff like that. It's her house essentially.
And it's, it's a lot of, I thought this was a legend. It's like, I thought this was an old story. And it's like, no, this is real. And,
Yeah.
I always had issue with that because if you put any logic to it, okay, Han Solo is what, like, in the first movie, he's like 30-ish, right?
Yeah.
And Luke's what, like 19? So Han Solo would have been 10 in the Fall of the Jedi. Han Solo was alive when Jedis were just a government body.
Yeah.
Like they were like the IRS. You knew what the Jedi were, and he's like, there's a myth and legend. Jedis are magic. Never heard of one before.
Never seen one.
Never seen one. And I'm like, you obviously know these things.
It's like, I didn't care to see it. I've been working since I was 5, honey.
I've been smuggling.
I've been smuggling to avoid the Jedi Order because they were the police.
But I helped fund the rebellion.
Yeah. But it is an interesting thing that the movie is establishing that all the Star Wars that you like exist, because there's no mention of like Jar Jar Binks or anything from the prequels, right?
No,
like
they even destroy the Republic to kind of like, hey, we're not gonna mention any of this.
That's not real, you know.
Hey guys, do you remember all those long Senate meetings back in the day?
those great scenes that you loved.
That is something
remember when you look through all those and you see like the little ETs in their little booth.
That's something I forget about the prequels every time I go back to rewatch them. There are 10-minute Senate meetings.
Yeah.
These are like, it's like literally watching like the Congress now talk about a bill. And it is just as riveting. But it is just so interesting, like how this movie is structured and how it's pitching its fastball, right? It's like, we are Star Wars, but we're just like the old Star Wars. We're playing it real safe. All your favorite characters are coming back. Just, stay on board the roller coaster and enjoy the ride.
And I think between Return of the Jedi and Force Awakens, what big of a gap is that?
Between Jedi and 82?
Yeah. So, and then this came out in 2015.
So it would have been like 35 years?
35 years.
Something like that?
So I remember hearing about the biggest critique, that it's just
33 years.
Oh,
33 years. Okay.
Yeah.
I remember that being the biggest critique of just like, oh, it's just New Hope, And I'm like, well, they were, like you said, they were playing it safe. It is the safest bet because it's a movie that, you're trying to get fans back in, and then you're also trying to grab in new fans as well too. You're trying to do both things. So watching something that's familiar is better. That's the thing. You're watching it and you're like, okay, well, I kind of do like that. I do like this. I enjoyed it for what it was.
Yeah. Let's also not forget the prequel elephant in the room of the last time they tried to do something new and quote unquote interesting with Star Wars. The backlash was insane.
Yes.
But yeah, like I'm in the same camp as you. That's how I've always defended the Force Awakens. Sure, played it safe, but like we kind of needed that to get people back on board with Star Wars.
That's the thing. And then they just kind of like gave you new characters with these like backstories or journeys that we don't know yet. That's the thing. But it's just, you're so invested by the time the movie's over. You're like, I want to see where these characters go moving forward.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the interesting thing about how the movie progresses is doing the play-by-play for Force Awakens is literally like watch New Hope and you get the gist of it.
Yeah.
Because they
awesome Cantina band, though.
The Cantina band in this is pretty mid. It's
pretty
mid.
Is. It's just like, okay, I need that, snappy Cantina band.
They're not closing Coachella. They're like opening when people are still
parking.
Yeah,
right?
They're that kind of band.
They're just kind of like background music. Yeah. It's just like, oh, cool. It sounds nifty.
I think the interesting thing about how the movie progresses is Rey. Like Rey's I think everyone is like Rey's gonna be the Jedi. She's the Force sensitive one. Yada yada. Everyone calls that like right away.
Yeah.
But she adamantly like refuses to take the lightsaber. She adamantly is like, I don't believe in this. I thought it'd be so much more interesting if it turned out that she wasn't a Jedi. Like Finn was the Jedi.
Yeah.
I thought that'd be more interesting, and that's why he's able to break his like programming or whatever.
Yeah.
The Force is strong with you. And I think that would have been more interesting is, when Rey tries to fight Kylo Ren, she's like, I can't do this because I'm not Force sensitive. And then we have that thing. I don't know. My biggest critique with this is Rey's arc. That's my biggest critique of the movie as like in a vacuum as a film.
No, I see what you mean. And I'm thinking about it right now. It would have been cool to see Rey and Finn take Kylo Ren on as like a kind of like a tag team kind of thing. They're fighting and then like kind of like, they do like Pirates of the Caribbean where they throw the swords at each other.
Yeah,
like I need a sword. Yeah, they grab it and boom, boom, boom. That would have been fun to see.
Also, speaking of Pirates of the Caribbean, we did do a Pirates of the Caribbean episode not that long ago.
Yeah,
that movie still holds up.
No, I listened to that episode. I'm like, yep, you guys are totally right. Yeah, like
it still slaps.
I didn't get mad at anything you guys just said. I'm like, yeah, it's still good. No, they're right. That
movie still holds up. I'm like, why can't we just have more movies like this?
Yeah.
And not any of the weird sequels to Pirates that get really lost in the sauce on board. They get real lost in the sauce. But Star Wars, right?
Yes.
It's a weird thing where like how people have viewed this movie since it came out and how people keep coming back to it, and I think it's pretty honest, right? The movie on its own is fine.
Yeah,
it's a fine movie. The issue with the movie is how people feel it was a setup and a terrible payoff, and I think that kind of comes down to the J.J. Abrams style of writing.
So I had a friend that tells me how he does it.
The mystery box?
Yeah,
exactly. Also, I can't believe we made it this far before we brought the J.J. Abrams up. We're like an hour in.
I know, yeah.
But we got to talk about J.J. Abrams because we just did the first act. Let's talk about the man.
Yeah. So my buddy tells me the way that J.J. Abrams writes, it's the whole like mystery box. Like you tell the audience there's something in here. You don't know what it is, but I'm going to show you, I'm going to tell you where we're going to lead to it, how we're going to get there and stuff like that. And it works out the way
that's how we structured Lost.
That's the thing. Yeah. Lost. And then you could tell he did a little bit in the Star Trek franchise that he did. In particular, what is it? Into Darkness.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Into Darkness is the perfect example of the box. And that's the thing. He did that for Force Awakens, of like Rey's background and stuff, where she's from. Is she connected to anyone? We don't know.
Or it's like, is Finn a Jedi? Is he not? How did he break his programming?
Right, yeah.
Oh, like Han's, like, what's Kylo's path? Why did he betray
Something's
his family?
talking to him, you know, pulling him into the light.
What the fuck is Snoke? Is he really that big?
I remember I was so afraid when they first showed Snoke, and he's just like this big kaiju-sized thing.
I was like, that is so fucking cool. I want to see this.
I was like, what? There's giants in Star Wars? I'm like, all right, okay, we're going, and then like you just see it's a hologram. I'm like, I was like,
you got a relief moment. I was like, oh, let's go. Let's fucking go.
It was like a mixed emotion. I was like, okay, they didn't fall through with that, but okay. I'm like, all right.
I was like, it makes sense how they built such a big chair. I'm like, this thing is massive,
right? And how they carried him inside the ship, like. So that's what I was like, how do they get him in the ship? Do they have to build the ship around him or something? Like,
you sit your ass in that chair and you stay there until we build the whole thing around
it's
it.
like, what do they feed him? Do they just bring in Padawans for him to feast on?
Basically.
And what caused that big scar?
Oh, we never knew. That's
that thing. Got King Kong.
Yes.
Godzilla.
Right.
Yes.
Hollow Earth.
Oh Lord. But it is but yeah, the J.J. Abrams of it all, right? Because I'm curious because, you know, Star Trek fan, I remember when he took over the Star Trek movies, I'm like, oh, okay, you're making them more like, they're fun. They're more like action movies than like the Star Trek.
They're popcorn films. It's a big blockbuster movie. I remember when the first one came out, it was like the year of that was also like they did like Battle Los Angeles and they also did Tropic Thunder and stuff. It was like
08, 09 something.
It was just like a bunch of summer films, and Star Trek was one of them. Star Trek was a summer film, and it was great. I liked that.
I'm a big fan.
Yeah,
I really like Chris Pine in those movies.
Oh right? Yeah, no, Chris Pine was a great Kirk. He did a great job. I'm not gonna lie. But that's the thing. And then so when I heard he was gonna do Star Wars, I was like, great, cool. Yeah, he knows sci-fi. He's a nerd. You know,
he has glasses.
He's got glasses. You know, let him do it. I was like, so I don't know. I had faith in him. What about you?
I mean, the thing coming into it with J.J. Abrams is I was a Lost guy, so I watched like all of Lost, and I was like, the mystery. And I think I heard his mystery box TED talk because I think that was before The Force Awakens. Yeah, I think so. So my thing going into it was, oh no, okay, is he writing it? And then I think I saw it was like him and like 2 or 3 other people. I think Lawrence Kasdan even had a pass on it. Yeah, and I was like, okay, maybe if he has a plan, we can get there. But he needs to know what's in the mystery box. I was apprehensive, but I was like, the movie on its own is going to be fun. Yeah. My concern, which I now realize is validated, was what they were going to do with the rest of them, because they already announced it was going to be a trilogy. Yeah. And that's what I was more concerned about, was how it would play out as it went on. But again, I think J.J. Abrams is a good director. I think he can make good stuff. I think he's a solid, like, visualist.
So I think to kind of talk about the thing as a whole, the whole trilogy, I don't know what happened. That's the thing, is J.J. Abrams had this idea and he set it up. And then from what I've heard, Kathleen Kennedy knew about the idea that they were going to move forward with. It's just when Ryan Johnson. Ryan Johnson got it. He's like, no, I'm not doing that.
It is a weird series of events, because that's kind of true. J.J. Abrams had a very broad outline for what he wanted. Yeah. But that's the thing. It was incredibly broad, where it's kind of like the thing where it's like when you give an improv class, like, here you're at a Starbucks. Yeah. You're a turn of the century strongman, and you have ants in your pants. It's like one of those things where you're just throwing shit at the wall, and you're like, okay, I get an idea of how it's supposed to play out, but there's no like plot. There's no like beats for them to follow. Yeah. So when they gave it to Ryan Johnson, he was like, hey, JJ, what do you want me to do? And he was like, do whatever you want, man. Yeah. It's your movie, man. Just make your Star Wars, man. Yeah. And Ryan Johnson was like, oh, you really? You're giving me Disney money to just make some weird fucking art film about Star Wars, right? And he's like, yeah, dude, you're good. Kathleen's got my back. Yeah. And she's like, so JJ, he's going to make our fucking Star Wars movie with all my fucking money, right? JJ's like, yeah, no, it'll be cool, man. Yeah. I'm a cool nerd. Yeah.
We're going to see the true origins of Blue Milk.
Yeah. God. And then, but it's like, it's one of those things where J.J. Abrams didn't have like a finished outline of the franchise when he started, and Ryan Johnson picked up with basically J.J. Abrams' blessing to do kind of whatever he wanted. Yeah. And I think that was a flawed design decision. But I don't know.
That's the thing. We don't know. Yeah,
we don't know because
so there's always speculation. John Boyega says that he will never go back to Star Wars.
Yeah,
I'd make sense.
He had a bad experience, and you could tell the way that his character was treated. That
he got
it's valid. It's valid. Yes, basically, yes.
Just speaking of the Justice League episode, right?
Man, and it sucks that it's
Ray Fisher was going to be the biggest part about that movie, and then they shaft him
with African American actors. You know, it's so sad that happens because Cyborg had a great character potential, and so did Finn. Finn had great character potential as well too. Moving forward, from what I've heard, he was told that he was going to be a Jedi by the time this franchise was over. And he was told that, Rey's going to train you in between and stuff like that.
Yeah.
In between the movies. So your character's going to progress. And then for some reason, they doubled down and just went like, no, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
It's almost a thing where it's like the Ray Fisher thing with Justice League, that's like a big middle finger where it's just like, you had your whole thing done in like this long cut or whatever, and we just cut it all out for time.
That's the thing. They filmed it. They got it done.
And we need to make 2 hours, and you're the cutting room floor. And I'm like, that's fucked up, right? Because he was also like the best part of that story.
Oh yeah, he was essential to that story. It made more sense, the Snyder cut,
Yeah. And then with this, it's almost like J.J. Abrams sold John Boyega on this is what's going to happen. This is your stuff. And then he kind of threw him to the wolves with like, I'm not directing the next movie.
Yeah.
And this is
this is what they choose.
This is what they choose. It's a filmmaking by committee kind of situation. And maybe J.J. Abrams better at navigating a committee of that filmmaking by committee situation. And Rian Johnson is like, give me as much control as possible and fuck the committee. And that kind of, then the reaction from that is like, okay, now it's all the committee now, and you're going to get shafted because that's not in the cards for you, brother. I'm sorry.
Rian Johnson is a great director. Don't get me wrong. I love his movies.
Knives Out is very good.
Glass Onion's one of my favorite movies. I watch that over and over again. I think he's doing another Knives Out film as well, too.
Yeah.
And what did he do prior to... I'm trying to remember what he did prior to Last Jedi.
He did like a movie called like Brick with like Joseph Gordon-Levitt. I think that was like an early movie.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah.
He's worked in other movies, but Knives Out I think was like
that was the one that put him out.
That made him Knives Out was the one I think people were like, oh, you can work with a lot of stars and with a lot of money.
Yeah.
Let's give you Star Wars. I think that's how it was because I think Knives Out came before Last Jedi.
No, it came out after.
Did it come out after?
It came out after because he was getting backlash on what happened to Last Jedi. And so then he wanted to put out a movie that he's been working on for a little bit, which was Knives Out. He was working on it before Last Jedi. I remember
that's what it was. Yeah.
He was writing the script and stuff like that.
Because it was something with like Rian Johnson has a very interesting career arc that I have not explored nearly enough to have an intelligent conversation about it.
Yeah.
But Becky over there.
Yes.
J.J. Abrams comes on. Your thoughts on J.J. Abrams?
At the time, it was just new Star Wars. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. And you were like, no, boo, I gotta explain. And I'm like, I know I've seen his stuff before, but you're like, but Lost. I'm like, I've never seen Lost, so I'm good.
You're like, they could have Uwe Boll direct this movie. It's fucking Star Wars.
I watched Lost first 2 seasons, and then I missed one episode, and I was lost. I was like, so I was like,
you're like, whoa, this show really works.
So I just kind of threw my hands up in the air. I'm like, all right, I'll just wait until it's over, and then I'll just binge it. But I never did.
That's the thing with like Lost. That was like the problem was it was a very good show if you kept up with it.
Yeah.
If you missed like 1 or 2 episodes, it was pretty over because J.J. Abrams like it's a mystery box where we have all these interconnecting stories tied together to why they're lost. Oh man, they're not in heaven. They're not all dead. This is in purgatory.
And then I'm like, see there like some of them would be they would get off the island and then some of them would still be on the island and then they're like, we got to go back to the island. And I'm like, what?
Why?
I'm like,
why?
Why would you want to go back to the island? You're off the island.
You couldn't pay me to go back to that fucking hellhole. And then it's like, oh, but magic, it's pulling you back. Fuck that! I'm never getting out on
I'm compelled to go back to the island.
My ass is moving to like the heart of Montana, as far away from water as I can get. Okay.
And then I think how it ended, it was just like everyone kind of already suspected that it was purgatory, I guess.
People called shot at that episode like in the first season when they're like, oh, weird stuff going on. Well, they crashed in a plane. It's purgatory, right? They're all alive. Oh my god, they're all like in purgatory, and this is like their waiting room between heaven and hell. And J.J. Abrams said, no, that's stupid. That's obviously not what it is. God, guys. And then when the 6th season came out and that was the reveal, everyone was like, fuck you, JJ.
Right? God.
Fuck you. God.
Yeah.
Oh.
I gotta work on that anymore. So
It's like, shit.
Yeah, and then like the deadline came, he's all, damn it, okay, I guess it is purgatory. So.
Yeah, and that was the thing is like having a mystery box storytelling structure works if you know the ending, right? It's like the thing with like Twin Peaks. Okay?
Yes.
David Lynch, he was like, I have no intention of ever revealing who killed Laura Palmer. And they were kept asking him, but do you know who did it? And he's like, of course I know who did it. I'm just never gonna reveal it because that's not an important part of the story.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, and then they finally like forced him to do it in season 2, and then it like that basically like killed the show.
Yeah.
But
and then you see, Fire Walk with Me, and then it just kills your soul.
A little bit. I like Fire Walk with Me. It's not the best Lynch movie.
Well, no, I liked Fire Walk with Me, but just what happens, and it's like, oh god.
You feel dirty after watching that movie. But that's like the thing. Like mystery boxes work if you can tell your staff writers in the room being like, this is what's in the mystery box, work around that.
Yeah.
If it's what's in the mystery box, whatever the fuck you want, it doesn't matter. And I'm like, okay, so I'm writing for a MacGuffin. It's like I'm writing a murder mystery and I don't know who the killer is.
Yeah. And that's the worst way to write. If you don't know how your story's gonna end, you're just basically you're stretching out something just for your own benefit to try to give yourself time to come up with what you would think is a clever ending or a good ending.
Yeah. And back to the Star Wars, right?
Yes.
When J.J. Abrams comes on, I think that's the biggest fear that people have when J.J. Abrams is like coming on and directing it. And then watching the movie, it's like, okay, no, this is like a pretty straightforward, like we're doing Star Wars stuff. There's a little bit of mystery stuff, but it's like, okay, we can pay this off in a trilogy, right? And then the issue comes after that.
That's the thing.
Because again, payoffs or setups and payoffs, right? And I think that's why people dislike The Force Awakens so much is it was a setup with a bad payoff.
Yeah, you just get reminded. That's the thing. When you watch Force Awakens again, you just get reminded of what gets revealed later in the series. And it does put a little bad taste in your mouth, but at the same time, I still enjoyed it as a movie by itself.
Yeah.
And it's really good. I still like it. I still enjoy it. I think, though, I haven't rewatched it since I've seen Rise of Skywalker. So I rewatched it for the first time since then. And I was
Did Rise of the Skywalker kill all hope for Star Wars for you?
Basically, well, no, it was for a bit. It was, and then Mandalorian came on. And I was like, okay, I love Star Wars again.
We've been saved again.
Yeah. I was like, Jon Favreau, thank you.
Dave Filoni, thank you.
Yes.
That is an interesting thing about The Force Awakens and just the Disney Star Wars movies is everyone's like, God, Disney just ruined Star Wars. All these movies are awful. And then it's like Rogue One is the only one I think people are like, that's a legitimately good movie.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, The Mandalorian, that was great. And those are like it for all the Disney produced Star Wars
stuff. And Dean
stuff.
won't give The Mandalorian the time of day.
Oh, I tried.
Have you ever watched Solo?
Oh, the
just Solo.
Just Solo.
A
that
Star
movie?
Wars story.
The one that what is it? Ron Howard came on to save, and it did not work.
No. I still haven't watched it.
Really? It's so I finally watched it like 3 years back because I was the same way. I'm like, I'm not watching that. That's just why do I need to know what happened, how Han Solo or how Solo became Han or something like that. And it was, but I watched it because I remember hearing that people were like, it's good, it's not bad. I'm like, okay, I watched it. It's not bad, but it is very much like, you could tell though that there was an original idea, and then it was after the whole trilogy came out, and then Disney was like, no, you got to fix this, you got to fix that. They're just doing damage control, thinking that no, that's audience is not going to like that. That's the thing. So
it's like, we know what we like.
Yeah, we
like Star Wars.
And Force Awakens gave us Star Wars.
Yeah,
it just didn't give us much outside of Star. Again, it's the defending Star Wars theme of the month, right? And the criticisms placed on Force Awakens is payoffs, setups, right? And that was the whole J.J. Abrams like thing we just did is J.J. Abrams did not have a payoff for this, really. He was hoping he would have a broad outline, give it to a couple of other guys like Lucas did back in the day, and they would pay it off eventually. Yeah. And he's like, I'll make a nice, complete story. It'll be fun. We'll kill off Han Solo. You know, spoilers.
Oh, man.
You know?
I still cried, even though I had been spoiled.
I think that's... honestly, I think that was the idea... that J.J. Abrams probably placed forward to Kathleen Kennedy was, we will establish new characters, and at every movie we will kill off a new one.
Yeah.
And that was going to be the plan. So by the end of this, we will have a clean slate. You can do whatever you want with Star Wars after that.
Makes
no
sense.
legends.
Yeah.
No legends.
Yeah.
We're killing off nostalgia. And the sad state of affairs is like, well, they killed Han Solo's Harrison Ford, but Carrie Fisher is the one that actually like passes away in real life.
Yeah, she passes away before the
release of
Last Jedi. Before Last Jedi comes out, which they have a scene where you think she would die.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, okay, is that how they're writing her off? Like, but
I thought that's how they were writing her off.
Yeah. But no, that's the thing. And then with the Han Solo's death, I wasn't shocked because in interviews prior, Harrison
for the
Ford,
last 30 years.
Yes, Harrison Ford has always said Han Solo needed to die in Return of the Jedi. He's always, I feel like my character has done enough and stuff like that.
He's like, I'd rather be used to raise the stakes of the story than to hang on for the franchise.
But don't you dare touch Indy.
No, Indy, apparently he loves Indy to hell. Like,
he's like, even in death, I'm Indy.
Right?
The fact that man at 82 fucking years old
Dial of Destiny.
Is like, I could do one more Indy.
Right?
And they're like, you're going to write off Indy after this, right?
Yeah.
He's like, no.
We could.
But
can we do it like a little ambiguous ending to it? Yeah. I grab my hat. Maybe.
I want to be open for one more?
Yeah.
One more go? You know?
Oh my God.
Okay, like, tangent real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
The Harrison Ford of it all, right?
Yeah.
Harrison Ford, to me, is one of the most fascinating looks at the leading man of Hollywood, right? Because that man is like the key in like two of the biggest franchises of like all time: Star Wars, Indiana Jones.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say Air Force One.
Also, masterpiece. Well, he was also what is it, Jack Reacher or something in those like Patriot games and all those other ones.
Yeah, which they
Blade Runner.
Blade Runner.
Blade Runner is a great movie.
Yeah.
I still hold that I like the original Blade Runner more than Blade Runner 2049.
2049, yeah.
2049 is a better looking movie, don't get me wrong, but I really dig that like grungy, nasty original Blade Runner.
Yeah.
But don't watch the theatrical cut of that. It's
so funny. Yeah,
awful.
that one. So I remember I had a buddy who's a huge advocate for Blade Runner, and he says, you have to watch the director's cut because that's the way the movie's intended. And I remember I've never seen Blade Runner before 2049 came out. And I was like, I got to watch Blade Runner. And I was because 2049 just looks like it's going to be a great movie at the time. And I was like, hey man, like what's the best way to watch it? Blade Runner. He goes, director's cut. You got to watch the director's cut. Like, don't touch the theatrical cut.
Don't touch it. Yeah. Harrison Ford does some awful fucking voiceover. Yeah. It's terrible. I don't know why I turned my Alex Jones voice on. Blade Runner's fucking terrible.
It was sounding more like, Beetlejuice Michael Keaton.
Same guy. It's a long bit.
Mm-hmm.
But like Harrison Ford is just fascinating, right? He's in like 2-3 the biggest film franchises of all time.
Yeah.
And he is like actively, I think in the last since like the late 90s, he's actively been like, I don't like not caring anymore.
Yeah.
He shows up in stuff he wants to. He's not really putting in 110%.
Yeah.
And then when he does The Force Awakens, where it's a character he does not like to play, a character he has adamantly wanted to die for the last 30 years, he gives probably one of his better performances of the last 20 years.
The banter between him and Chewie are great. That's the thing.
He turns on the charisma. He's having
the
a
top
great time.
billed actor in this movie.
Is he?
He's top billed?
He's top billed, and this is the first time that a non-Jedi's top billed.
Oh, wow. That makes sense,
Space Pirate did it.
But and the thing is like they're building him up
Yeah.
to be like
he's gonna see it through. Like he's gonna help out Finn and Rey throughout the franchise.
he
and
takes
stuff
over
like
the Obi-Wan Kenobi role.
Yeah, basically.
He's showing him the path.
Yeah.
He's old Han.
And
He's old Han.
here, and I think this is the last thing that like people get angry about, is that there's no point in this franchise that we see Luke, Han, and Leia in the same room.
Well, yeah, that's true.
I mean, we get we get Han and Leia.
We get Han
and
and
that's
Leia.
when I started crying the first time. I was like, oh my god, it's the two of them, and it's their theme. Like, oh my god.
And then
And you get to see-
C-3PO, hi. So
It's like, damn it.
And you get to see Carrie Fisher there being like, I can't believe I came back for this.
Right.
I hate all of you
No,
people.
it was a typical Hanya.
Yeah.
See, you changed your hair. She's like, you've been gone for 10 years.
Yeah.
You know, really? And he's like, I needed to heal my way.
Right.
I figured you want me out of the
my
house.
son left, my brother has disappeared, and your ass like just gallivants off with your
Right.
fucking dog fan.
Yeah.
What the hell?
And I'm over here, they had a child. They had everything. We missed
Yeah.
it all.
But because honestly, I'm surprised people weren't more pissed about Han dying
Yeah.
when the movie happened.
Mhm.
Because, like, you know, oh my god, they're gonna kill off Han Solo, and I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, let's be honest, guys. Harrison Ford is pretty old, and he's already crashed his plane
Right.
twice. All
Right,
right, let's
yeah.
be careful here.
Mhm.
But I'm surprised more people weren't mad about Han Solo dying.
I was heartbroken.
There were some people that were furious.
Yeah.
Remember that. I remember on the internet, just like some people were just so mad. But and then I remember I watched an interview with the cast of SNL, and I think it was Bobby Moynihan, and it was when he talked about when Adam Driver was on hosting for SNL.
Mhm.
And basically one of the skits was they had an idea was that after what is it? After I guess Han Solo dies, they're like mopping up his body and something like that.
Oh,
And then
no.
Adam Driver was like, no. They already hate me, guys. Like he goes, we gotta change that.
Yeah.
Oh man.
He goes, people already hate me right now because I killed Han Solo. So that's the thing. So it's funny how even Adam Driver, I think Adam Driver even said too, he goes, he's a little disappointed of how his character went about at the end of the whole franchise and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he was told one way and they went out a different direction.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the thing. But in that scene, when Han Solo does die, I do like the way it's filmed
Mhm.
because you get to see the red glow,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like partially
Oh.
right there when he's talking to his dad, and then like as he's talking to him, it's slowly covering his whole face.
Mhm.
And by the time it reaches that red glow, reaches his whole face, that's when he kills his dad. And I was
Yeah.
like, that's beautiful. I was like, that was
He's like, eclipse,
Right.
evil.
right.
It is great because like when you get that big wide shot with the smoke coming in,
Yeah.
the light shadows, and I'm like,
Mhm.
oh my god, somebody did some fucking work. To
Yeah.
set this up. This looks so fucking
Yeah.
good.
All the budget went into this scene right here. Like,
Oh god, I have a thing about the budget. Okay,
yeah.
okay.
But before you do that,
Yeah.
and then Harrison Ford after he's been impaled.
Yeah.
Yeah, before I do, I'm gonna go pee. Keep going.
No problem.
God.
But
Then
he's-
Harrison Ford, Han Solo touches his son's
right.
face.
Oh my god, yes.
And then drops into the hole forever.
Mhm.
Like, oh.
You could just tell, like, when he gets impaled from the lightsaber, and then just holds him, and you're just like, oh man, he still loves his son. That's the
Yeah.
thing, yeah.
And he's like, I still love you, even
Yeah.
though you stabbed me in the heart. Like, literally.
There's actually some theories that say that Han Solo was the one that ignited it, the lightsaber,
Could
to,
have.
to help his son, progress more and stuff like, or just to, make him pull that trigger so that way his son doesn't have to hold that. Hold
Also,
that-
him
yeah.
hitting rock bottom. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm doing it for you, and now
Mhm.
you can work and rebuild and
Yeah, basically.
climb out of this evil hole that you've fallen
Mhm.
into.
Yeah, that's the thing. You said you were spoiled. That was the scene you were spoiled.
That was the scene I was spoiled
Oh,
on.
man.
Yeah, it was just a really quick video. I was on Instagram and scrolled, and it was, him being impaled. I was like, what? I was like,
Oh,
no.
man.
My heart.
Oh, I'm back.
Okay.
Yes.
Really quick, did you guys see that clip? It was circling around after the movie came out. It was a theater that had a mishap in the screening of Star Wars. It was the scene right before the First Order was going to use the weapon against the Republic.
Mm.
And basically it paused. They were charging the weapon and it stopped. And so the projectionist was trying to work on it,
Mhm.
and then they got it working, but it skipped 5 minutes.
Oh.
And it aimed right, and the beam was about to hit the Republic, and everyone was like, "No, no, go back!" Like, go back. And they got spoiled like 5 minutes earlier of the film. That's the thing. And I was like, "Oh
No, I
man."
didn't see that.
No, I remember that. That was circulating on Instagram a lot, or TikTok. Not TikTok. It was I think it was just Instagram or Facebook. And then I also remember people were beating up other people because they, when one theater was leaving, they spoiled the movie of people waiting in line, and then
they
those
pulled
people,
a Homer.
yeah. So those people got so mad that they beat up that person that spoiled the movie.
That I can believe.
Yeah.
It was a very hostile time.
And I think
Star Wars fans being hostile and toxic? No, never.
And I think they said that Han Solo died, and then they just got I just saw red. It's like,
it is, again, it's one of those things where the hype for this movie was so high that any spoiler was considered an act of aggression.
Yeah.
It was a terrorist act spoiling Star Wars. But okay, the budget going all into that shot, right? How much do you think this movie fucking cost? All right, because it is like the first Star Wars in 30 years. They're like, all the stops are out. They have probably the biggest effects houses on planet Earth working on this movie.
I guess my question is, how much money did it make?
Oh, it made a shit ton of money.
I was gonna say
it made so much goddamn money.
Over $1 billion?
Oh yes. So the budget for this movie was $448 million.
You know what? I was gonna say $200 million. Dang.
Yeah.
All
well, the 448 is like accumulated because I'm assuming it's also like every time they had to go back and remaster something or the release of whatever, right?
Marketing as well.
Marketing, all that, because it's been out long enough where that's the accumulated cost of everything they went into it.
Yeah.
The actual production process was probably closer to like $200 million.
Yeah.
But the money this movie made was $2.071 billion.
Yeah.
This was the third highest grossing movie of all time.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
And why was that? Because everyone saw this fucking movie opening night.
We were all there.
Yeah, we were literally all there. Yeah.
And here's the wild thing. You know, it made $2 billion, right? And people were like, yeah, but it didn't make more than like A New Hope. And they're like, bro, it made way more. And then everyone started doing the inflation calculator.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Everyone was petty about it. I don't know why, but everyone was really petty and they did inflation calculators. And I guess it's actually one of the lowest like opening Star Wars out to that point.
Oh, really?
Like all the other ones made more money adjusted for inflation. But this one made the most money like gross, I guess, at the time. But it's like, that movie made so much goddamn money.
It did.
So much goddamn money. And granted, I'm also like, bro, you could have released Star Wars and it could have been like 2 hours of Luke Skywalker reading the phone book and it would have made like $2 billion.
Still made $2 billion,
yeah. But the movie made a shit ton of money. It was nominated for some Oscars.
It was.
Nominated for 5. It lost all of them.
Yeah. Go figure.
Yeah. This was the Fury Road year. Also, The Martian came out. Also, The Revenant came out.
The Martian.
Also, The Spotlight came out. Yeah, this was
a stacked year.
All the special effects awards and the technical awards that Star Wars was like, we can sweep this. Well, again, The Martian, Fury Road, Spotlight, Revenant, all those came out, so get fucked, right?
Not to mention, the movie itself had a lot of cameos as certain stormtroopers. Like Daniel Craig was a stormtrooper.
Daniel Craig. Simon Pegg was one?
Simon Pegg was the guy giving out the rations.
That's right, yeah.
And I want to say Tom Hardy was in this one. He was a stormtrooper as well, too. He was one of the... I think he was one of the stormtroopers that was walking with another stormtrooper, and then they saw Kylo Ren doing his temper tantrum, and they walked back and stuff like that.
That's like the power of Star Wars. It's like, hey, you want to come on this movie for like $50?
Yeah.
I know you're like a Tom Hanks, but like you could be in Star Wars. And he's like, absolutely.
Keep the $50. I just want to be on set.
Can I get to keep my stormtrooper costume?
Right?
So they're like, no.
If I was Daniel Craig and I was a stormtrooper, I'd be like, keep the Bond tuxedo. I'm taking the stormtrooper costume home. This is my costume.
Do you want this Aston Martin? Like, I will give you the car.
Yeah.
But oh god, the Force Awakens is just a very interesting movie. But
it is.
You know, the whole movie plays out right. I think we've fallen off the whole plot.
Oh, yeah. We always do.
Long ago.
Yeah.
But I'm just curious, right? Like the criticisms leveled against the Force Awakens, are they valid? You know, it's banking on nostalgia to get its point across. It's
we like nostalgia.
It's basically a New Hope reskin.
Yeah.
We like A New Hope.
That's the thing.
Rey's arc isn't like strong here. Like
we still like Rey. She's badass.
But are they valid?
I think I'll say they are right, but it's not bad. Not to the point where it's bad. Yes, they are. What you're saying is a valid opinion, but at the same time, does it mean it's really that bad though? That's the thing. I mean, we're coming back from like a 30-year gap, and again,
of good Star Wars, not Star Wars, of good Star Wars.
Of good Star Wars. We're coming a 30-year gap from good Star Wars, from the original trilogy, and you need that familiarness. You need that kind of like, you need it. You're like I said earlier, you need to ease on in with old fans and then ease it on in with new fans. This was a movie that actually brought new and old fans together as well too. I think the girlfriend that I was dating at the time didn't know anything about Star Wars, and she ended up watching all the movies before we saw Star Wars and stuff. And then she fell in love with the new trilogy, at least Force Awakens. She fell in love with Force Awakens, and she loved Kylo Ren and stuff like that. She liked Rey and stuff. It was interesting.
Adam Driver's just so dreamy.
Adam Driver, you know what? I remember after that movie came out, so many fangirls were swooning after him.
Adam Driver's the best looking ugly man in Hollywood.
Right? I remember everyone was doing the whole shipping Reylo kind of thing. And I was like, I'm not mad at it. But it was interesting. It was just interesting to see the reactions of, fans after this movie as well too. I was one of those people that loved it. I was an advocate of like, okay, cool. Yeah, no, this is going to be good, guys. Don't worry. Like Disney owns it, but I think I know what they're doing.
Regrets. We've had a few.
Right.
But we don't have that many green screens anymore. It's a lot of practicals.
But that is true. There were a lot more practicals in this, which I did appreciate.
It's like we broke open the creature shop again. We have, actual, creations. We have gonk droids walking around again. This is special.
Okay, but that, what? That's actually a point, or an interesting point that Rene made, not about the creatures practical. Those are cool, though, is that the aftermath of Force Awakens coming out. It made billions of dollars, nominated for Oscars. Afterwards, I'm in the same camp as like you and you too is... It's good. It's a solid movie. It's not bad. I'm excited to see what they go on with it. I think the criticisms of this come out after Rise of the Skywalker, or not Rise of the Skywalker, Last Jedi. Last Jedi, then people are like, oh, of course, Last Jedi wasn't going to be good. Force Awakens didn't set him up for anything good. No. Or it's like Rise of the Skywalker comes out and everyone's like, well, of course the series is bad. Force Awakens didn't like lead them anywhere, right? No, and it's almost the thing where people look back on Force Awakens as this was the harbinger of doom for the Star Wars franchise because it didn't go far enough, or it didn't set up a new story. Like, what were they supposed to do? Just remake Empire and Return of the Jedi? And I'm like, fucking, they could have.
They could have done Last Jedi like an Empire kind of thing.
If they just went like ultra safe and it was just the original trilogy, but like reskinned and with modernized in a functionally different tone. Yeah, but that would have been kind of disappointing. I think people would have gotten a little irked if that was the case.
That's the thing. Yeah, I think one of the things that after Force Awakens ends, my film theory on that was basically like, okay, this is a movie that we're gonna see Rey and Kylo do their journeys to get to where they're at and stuff. Basically, we're going to see Kylo Ren's journey of becoming a more powerful Sith, and then Rey becoming a Jedi. Or I was also saying they could pull something where basically their paths are crossing, and then Kylo goes to the light side in his journey, but Rey starts going to the dark side and stuff. That would have been cool as well too. A switch up, Yeah. But again, I mean, that's not what they did, obviously. But I was really interested because you get to see after the lightsaber fight, you get to see like Kylo Ren has like a scar
on his face.
Yeah, on his face. He got hit with the lightsaber on his face. I'm like, oh, that makes him deformed. It's gonna make him more evil looking and stuff.
He's like, just like Grandpa,
right? I'm just like you. But again, they didn't do that. They didn't do that in freaking Last Jedi. They gave him like this little mesh that held his face together and then just takes it off at the end of the movie and stuff.
It's just a fascinating thing where it's just like great setup.
Yeah.
And there's no arguing that this is a good setup, right? It's
so much potential.
So much potential. And I think that's where you're coming from is the potential was good.
Yeah. It was there.
We had it all.
Taking it on its own, it's a good movie.
Yeah.
The problems come outside of the movie.
Yeah, outside and after the movie. That's the thing. It's just, this one was, like you said, it's just a great setup that J.J. Abrams did, and it's just for some reason when it was the spark of Disney. Whenever they took any sort of criticism moving forward, they just wanted to be like, okay, we're not going to do that in the next one. What happened in the last film, we're going to completely rewrite that and stuff. And they did that in Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker.
It's interesting. It's interesting that argument because, you know, Disney was also in charge of the Marvel films up to this, up to this point and still now. They'll own Marvel until the sun burns out. But it's an interesting thing where I never thought that Disney bowed to the criticism from Marvel. I think it's also a thing where Marvel was very like carved out as this is the track record this is the track we're running on. Like those were like, you know, the joke is that when Iron Man dropped, they already knew what Endgame was going to be when, you know, they were thinking that far ahead or whatever. But with Star Wars, it does feel like they got the rights to Star Wars from George Lucas in like 2013, I think. And then like 2 years later, they're like, we're ready to go. We're rocking and rolling. And I'm like, you guys really should have had a whole trilogy ready to roll before you should have had all the scripts for the trilogies written and ready to go before you started frame one.
Yeah, that's the thing. They should have taken a couple more years to think. Because, I mean, people were going to wait. And I think what it was, too, is that when they attained the rights, they wanted to already establish, again, a lot of it has to do with Disneyland as well, too. You know, this was something that, like, okay, cool. Now we got properties that both women and men can enjoy, or girls and boys, you know, where, you know, with Disneyland, when I was a kid, I wasn't really impressed with Disneyland because it's just Disney characters that I watched as a kid, but never took.
Talk about banking on nostalgia. Literally, Disneyland is designed to bank on nostalgia.
Basically, that's where they know where all the money is going in. When we show something that was either for 90s kids or 80s kids and stuff like that, they're gonna come. You build it, they will come. Like,
nerds are an interesting lot,
right? Yeah, they got a lot of money sometimes. But that's the thing, and it was just very interesting just to see what they were coming up with, like, you know, with Disneyland, with was it Star Wars Land, you know?
Galaxy's Edge.
Galaxy's Edge. That's
my sister worked there when they were building it.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And she said it was fucking awful.
Really?
Well, because the whole back half of the park was just torn out, and there was stuff back there. There was like parking, and like I think the horse stables were back there.
Yeah, I remember that.
And it was one of those things where they were building it, and she remembers when it opened, and you know, I think it was like a 2-week reservation before you can get into the not to Disneyland, to Galaxy's Edge, the section of the park that's like maybe, I don't know, the size of a football field. It's not a huge park, I think, but that was like the section. You had to wait 2 weeks to get into there, and you had to get reservations. And she's like, it was awful. They had to have security stationed at every entrance and exit of it. They had to check. They had to like have a whole security check-in to get in there. But yeah. And then, you know, people went in and they were like, none of the rides work. Some of the merch is expensive. I dug the vibe and I'm good.
I remember when they announced the whole like, oh, you get to build your own lightsaber. And I was like, oh, that's dope. But I saw the price. It was like $250. Like, oh, I can hold off on that for a bit.
For $300, you could pick your own kyber crystal.
Right?
Just like, thanks.
But that's the thing. When you go into Disneyland now, there's no mention of Vader. There's no like on the park. There's no when the actors or the characters are out, they correct you if you say stormtrooper. They go, no, these are first order troopers. So this is Disney like saying that no, this is our Star Wars. This is Disney's Star Wars.
In Tomorrowland, you have Vader and you have the stormtroopers, and you also have Kylo Ren and Chewie. So it's like, okay, why can't everyone live in the same universe? Because we have Mando over at Galaxy's Edge now.
That's true, yeah.
So,
I saw that.
It's a very weird thing, and I think what The Force Awakens is in like that meta thing is the result of a corporation, Disneyland, trying to take control of something that was, for better or worse, you know, George Lucas was the mastermind behind Star Wars, was something that came out of a very individualistic idea. And, you know, you can say what you want about the prequels, but those come from a singular mind. That's an artist's vision that did not land at all
Yeah.
for most people.
Basically.
But like, yes, Force Awakens is like movie made by committee that came out much better than I think people expected.
Mm-hmm.
I think people were, we were hyped about it, but like before the first trailer dropped, I'm thinking we were all in the same opinion of this is going to be fucking awful.
We were all a little nervous.
We're going to get Mickey
Yeah.
Mouse and fucking Disney.
Yeah.
Or we're going to get
That's
Mickey
the
Mouse
thing.
and fucking Star Wars.
There was some moments, or not moments, but like there was a slim chance that this could be terrible.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing.
Yeah. But that is The Force Awakens. Do you have any final thoughts on The Force Awakens? Were any criticisms valid? Did you defend it with your whole heart? Were you willing to bleed for The Force Awakens?
For Force Awakens, yes.
Any
For
of
the other ones, not so much.
Or are you definitive that Force Awakens is the only good one of the sequel trilogy?
Oh yes, I firmly believe that, and I feel sorry for any of your other guests that have to defend Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker, which I'm very interested to hear. Like,
we do have somebody coming on to defend The Last Jedi. We could not get a single human being to defend Rise of Skywalker.
so what are you guys gonna do for that one?
We're just skipping that one.
Yeah, we're not talking about it.
That was spoilers for the rest of the month
Yeah.
is we're only doing episodes for Star Wars movies that people were actually willing to defend.
Yeah.
Rise of the Skywalker, we could not find a single person to defend.
Really?
No.
Yes.
There's
that was the one that everyone wrote off.
it was a YouTuber that convinced me that Last Jedi is not as terrible as that it is, and you guys could look it up. His name's Cosmonaut, and he basically defends Last Jedi, and
There you go.
in a writing aspect, he says it's good. So
That's gonna be well, I'm really hoping our guest on that one comes in with guns ready, because we have people coming in for some other Star Wars movies, but I want to know, Boo, The Force Awakens, final thoughts.
I still love it. I mean, it's been a while since I've watched it. Probably Rise is the last time I watched it, just to get myself ready. And after that, I was like, okay, I need a little break from Star Wars. And then Mando came out, and I'm like, everything's been restored. My life is, back on course.
There's order has been placed back into the Force.
There is Grogu, my new savior. I mean, that baby is cute. But The Force Awakens, no, it's a really good movie, especially for fans that grew up with the original trilogy.
Yeah.
It just hits you right in the feels. And it's like, I don't care if there's, Easter eggs left and right. I love me some Easter.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I think it's a good movie.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it comes down to my contrarian opinion that I don't think a single Star Wars movie is perfect. I don't think any of them are great. Okay, the New Hope is the only one that I'll give great to, just for what it did for the cinematic landscape.
I was going to say, if you say Wrath of Khan is perfect, I'm going to throw my pen at you.
Wrath of Khan is a better movie than any Star Wars movie.
Here comes the pen.
Back off. Wrath of Khan's a better movie than any Star Wars movie, and I will die on that hill. But
blasphemy.
Force Awakens is a good movie. Like, I can watch this, and I had a great time watching it. I haven't seen it since the theater. Like, no joke. I haven't come back to rewatch this. I was like, okay, Last Jedi wasn't great. Rise of Skywalker wasn't.
Last line.
But like
Rey Skywalker.
Oh god. but
my name is Jeff.
Oh god. But Force Awakens, I can get behind this. Again, what you said defending it is on its own, it's great. It sets up a good thing to go on. If we just
stick with it,
it'll be good. And the criticisms for it really stem from the fact that what came after it hurt it. And the criticisms for what's in the movie that I come down to is like arcs or logical things or whatever. It's like, but it's still entertaining.
It's our Halloween reboot trilogy. 2018 was really good. If you had left it that way, would have been perfect. And then we get kills, it ends, and it's like, oh boy, we're just falling down the stairs. There's no, we can't stop ourselves.
The Halloween trilogy, the 2018 trilogy, the Hollow Green, the David Gordon Green ones. They had enough material for a movie and a half. And then they were forced to turn that into a trilogy. That did not need to be there. Kills is a waste of time. End is
even worse.
Well, Ends is a flawed execution from a bad idea. If they committed to an idea for Ends, it would have worked, but they did not, and it just is a wet fart of a movie.
I wanted Paul Rudd to come back as Tommy so bad.
Yes.
In the Halloween Kills movie, and then when they
with
cast
how much throwbacks they have in that movie, you'd figure, okay, you can get Paul Rudd back.
Paul Rudd would love to come back. That's the thing. He would play that character differently, because I feel like having him play as the crazy type of Tommy, and I don't know why they went that direction with Tommy.
I think the issue with the Halloween trilogy for that is that they needed Tommy to be this towny jock guy that never really got out of it, and Paul Rudd has looked like Paul Rudd for the last
right.
He's like, hey guys, has it been 30 years? I still look like
look like I was in Clueless.
That's the thing. If you bring Paul Rudd back, then it's like, well, Tommy's like a good-looking guy that still looks to be in like his 30s, even though he's supposed to be in like his 40s or 50s at this point.
Because this Halloween movies ignore the second and forward. Right?
They only acknowledge, I think, the first half of 2. Okay. That's it. It's the first one, and then like the first 15 minutes of 2, I think, and that's it. They don't ignore everything else.
Because Michael and Laurie are not related. They kind of throw that away. They're like, oh no, that was just a rumor that people thought make him feel better.
Bill Tramer still got run over.
Well, no, Bill Tramer didn't get run over. That's like a thing they make a note of. That's why it's only the first 15 minutes of Halloween too. It's really dumb. It's one of those things where it's like the Halloween movies, and the Halloween movies are just like very fascinating to watch as like a complete as a complete franchise, because you can see them set the bar for the slasher franchise and then chase the trends of every popular slasher as they go on.
I mean, when I watched Halloween Ends, I did enjoy the whole Haddonfield created their own serial killer because of the craze of Michael Myers, and that was interesting. I was like, okay, instead of actual Michael Myers, they made their own Michael Myers. And I was like, okay, this is an interesting direction. And then just kind of...
It fell apart.
Yeah, it fell apart with the whole Michael's coming back, but then we have this new Michael, imposter Michael.
The idea is that mob mentality creates monsters. If we direct the mob at the wrong people, we create our own monsters. And the problem with that is that they don't fucking commit to the monster at the end of ends. It would have been so good after they throw Michael into the fucking wood chipper. Also, spoilers, they kill Michael Myers by throwing him into a fucking wood chipper.
That's the smartest way to kill any sort of unstoppable force of a serial killer.
What's the joke from Supernatural? It's like wooden stakes, silver bullets, wood chipper beats them all.
Yeah, wood chipper beats them all. Yeah.
But they throw him into the wood chipper, and they're like, oh my god, Michael Myers is dead. And if they go through, and it's like silence as they're going through everywhere, because oh, Michael's dead. And then it's to like that kid's body, right? And then you just hear the breathing, and he sits up because he slashes his neck, right? So if he sits up at the end and you cut to black and you just hear his breathing, and then it's like, okay, you've set up a new killer. Michael is gone now. Instead of Michael being a 70-year-old geriatric in a Halloween mask, now it's this young 20-something who's now obsessed with Laurie Strode's granddaughter. New franchise, new set of killers, whatever.
There we go.
Yeah.
But then you would have to commit to actually killing off, continuing this franchise, but now it's a TV show and whatever. The Halloween movies, look,
we started a whole tangent.
Star Wars got bad, and it's like there's not good movies, whatever. The Halloween movies hurt. Okay, that hurts my soul. I did a marathon of all the Halloween franchise leading up to Halloween Ends. I was so fucking hyped. I even watched the Rob Zombie movies, and I was like, I'm so ready for this, because Star Wars isn't like super my bag, whatever, but I fucking love shitty slasher movies, and Halloween is my fucking bread and butter. And I watched Ends, and we walked out of the theater. I'm like, man, that's got to be the longest Halloween movie. That was like 3 hours. And she was like, it was 90 minutes.
I watched it on Peacock when it was the same day release. So I was like, I don't want to go and watch, because I didn't like how Kills ended. Just so I'm gonna kill your daughter, Laurie. But then after
evil dies tonight.
Your daughter dies tonight, basically. And I was like, okay. I was with my girlfriend, and I was just like, let's just watch it here. Like, we don't want to take the risk of watching it, because I was like, I didn't like how Halloween kills end. And I watched it and I was like, wow, that felt really long. Was that like 2 hours? And she's like, no, that was an hour and a half. I was like, what? Then where did this half an hour come in that made me feel super long?
We are literally sitting in the theater.
Yeah.
It's like us and maybe like 10 other people spread out this whole theater.
Yeah.
And it's opening night.
It's opening night,
Yeah.
right? And it's, simultaneous release. So like, okay, whatever, COVID, fine, cool.
Yeah.
We're sitting there, we're watching it. In 45 minutes into this movie,
No. 20
minutes. 20 minutes. This couple in front, like 2 rows in front of us, they look at each other, and I think it's the husband or the wife or whatever taps the other one on the shoulder and be like, does one of these.
Yeah.
Like, oh, hey, let's get out of here real quick. And I'm thinking, they get up and I'm like, oh, they must have like forgot something in the car or they're gonna go get snacks or whatever. It's the first 20 minutes of the movie. Barely anything happened. Yeah. They never come back.
Really? 20 minutes in?
They get up and leave. That's
it?
why I think it wasn't 20. It had to have been like 30 after we see old Michael. It has to be something.
I'm trying to think of like what happened because it opens with like the babysitter.
The babysitter, and he accidentally kills the kid.
Yeah, and then he's ridiculed for the rest of his life.
Yes.
But then Lori gives him a chance, and then Lori's like, "Oh, I have a granddaughter,"
and they get like into it. Like it had to have been. I don't know what it was. They had to have either been like, we're in the wrong movie.
Yeah.
Or, wow, this is not what we thought. I was
this
hoping
is not our Michael
this
Myers.
is not our Michael Myers. This is not my Michael Myers.
Right?
And they get up and leave, but like 20, 30 minutes in the movie, they're gone.
Yeah.
And then we're like sitting there, and I swear to God, it felt like a 3-hour movie. I thought this was like the Lawrence of Arabia of Halloween movies. Not in quality, but in length.
Yeah.
And then we're done, and I'm like, boo, that was not good.
No.
And I always, every time we see a movie, I have to be like pretty apprehensive about my opinions because I'm like, okay, sometimes like, oh, that movie was awful. And she's like, that was my favorite fucking movie. Fuck you.
Well, no, I'll be having a good time. And he's like, do you have eyes? That was terrible. He's like, your choices are terrible.
Sometimes I get a little angry. But like that one,
Just like when we went to go see the Batman. I absolutely loved it. And he's like,
7 out of 10.
He's like, I need 3 days to process this. I'm like, you need days to
it
process.
Was 3 hours.
Yeah.
I gave 7 out of 10 on an initial viewing of the Batman. So whatever.
So I see this commonly when it comes to people that either work in film or people that go to school for film and stuff like that. They have a different outlook when it comes to certain films. I have a buddy that is studying film right now, and we watched Civil War, the movie.
Okay.
And me and my third buddy because it was 3 of us, and me and my buddy were like, oh, it was okay. But then my film buddy, he's like, that was like one of the best well-written movies. Like, this movie's going to be shown in classrooms to tell you how to write a film.
I know those conversations.
Yeah. And I'm just like, what?
You can tell your buddy he's fucking wrong. Oh God.
Yeah. And I'm just like, dude, I mean, this movie is kind of like very like up in the air for me. I mean, I enjoyed the vibe. I enjoyed the stress of it and certain scenes and stuff, but I don't think it was well written. So no, man, no, this is good. So it's fun. I see that in a lot of people that are heavily involved in film. That's the thing.
I was just like, no, it was a fun Batman movie.
Yeah.
I like Dark Knight more, but hey, this is good. I liked it. I dug it. But yeah, so Star Wars.
Yes.
Force
Star Wars,
Awakens.
guys, yes. You can probably edit this out and make this into a Halloween little slap.
Oh no, we keep that shit in there, man. We run these long. But Force Awakens, we're all of the opinion it's good on its own. It's a solid movie. It's fun. The criticisms against it, the stuff within the movie, valid, but it doesn't ruin it. There's nothing in this movie that ruins it.
Nothing. No, it's fun.
The major criticisms is the stuff that comes out of the movie, and that's not a good reason to denounce this one.
Yeah, that's a thing.
But that brings us to the end of Star Wars: The Force Awakens after a 30-minute tirade on Halloween.
Yes.
But
it all makes sense.
A full circle.
It's all connected.
Right?
But what are we doing next week?
Next week we were talking about The Rise of Skywalker?
No, it's Last Jedi.
Last Jedi. Sorry.
We have a guest in on that one.
We do.
He's going to defend it to his heart's content.
We're probably going to be quiet the entire episode while he just, defends. But that's
it's gonna be
week.
like Charlie from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
With the red string.
Yeah, with all red strings. Like, no, like this is it. Like
Pepe Sylvia's here, guys.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna have a big sheet of paper with SOS. So I'm gonna just flash it to you and be like, Rene, help us. He won't stop talking.
But I'm excited for that one because I remember watching The Last Jedi, and
we watched it for my birthday. It came out on my birthday again.
Yes,
and we were like,
Yeah, that one out of the gate, I was like,
I was like, I came out of a fight or something.
Yeah.
Like, I was, or either I'm like, I felt like I took like 5 shots and I'm like dazed, and I'm like,
my head hurt.
Right?
I was just like,
yeah.
I
remember just going in. I'm like, guys, I don't know if I like this movie or if it's good or not. Is it good? Like,
I'm walking out of that movie, I'm like, I don't know.
Right?
That movie's not good.
Words.
I just don't know if it. That movie's not good. I just don't know if it's the worst Star Wars movie I've ever seen, or if it's just a bad movie.
I remember we got dinner after it. We were so quiet at dinner. We were sitting across from each other, just eating and looking concerned. And he was like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, I don't know if I liked it. And he goes, "Oh, good, me either."
But we're gonna have a guest on next week to defend it, and he has been an adamant defender since day one.
Really?
And he has distinct reasons why he's defending it, and I'm excited.
And he's asked us multiple times, "Can I come on and do this? Can I come and can I do this?"
Yeah.
And he will have his
when you guys
moment.
doing Star Wars, I want to do Last Jedi.
Yes.
He had to pick any Star Wars, and he's like, Last Jedi.
He had the first pick.
But I can't wait to be on there. But if you wanted to hear that episode, where can they go?
If you want to listen to us on a different platform than you currently are, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and YouTube.
You can go to our YouTube channel, The Film Vault. That is The Film Vault on YouTube, where you can like, comment, subscribe, and watch the lovely slideshow versions of this podcast.
Yay!
And I'm getting closer and closer to actually syncing them up to our normal release dates. I'm so close, guys. We're getting there. We're right there.
I think we're in November right now of last year.
We're getting closer. But if you wanted to follow us on social media, where can they go?
You could go to Instagram and follow us at the Film Club Podcast, where we post daily stories, upcoming episodes, and random adventures we go on.
And Rene, would you like to plug anything?
Yes, you guys can, if you guys liked my voice and thought I was funny, you guys can find me on my podcast, which is Keeping Up with the Nerds, both on YouTube, Podbean, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts as well, too.
All right. And also come to Undercity Comics in Whittier. You know, they have comic books.
They do. We love it here.
Yes.
But with that,
may the Force be with you.
Have a good week, everybody.